you're very, very capable and you have amazing skills. You're a leader in your own way, even if you don't have the manager title. And you absolutely can do what you want to. It's just about getting your story out there to the world and letting people know that you exist and you want it and getting curious about what that is.
This is Leadership Sound Bites. Real leaders, real moments, real growth.
Welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Sound Bites with Shannon Bloom. Shannon and I met through Pop-Up Think Tank. I've never said Tim's name out loud. Tim Schuster, I think is how we say his last name. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I believe
this
you're
is
right.
terrible. This is terrible. I've never said it out loud. And it's a really freaking cool format. And I met you because I joined one that was focused on your questions and your focus in your business, which is you are founder and CEO of Radiant Firefly. And I will ask about that in a minute. And I love what you had me write down, which was mindset strategy and momentum coach. It is, it's like, yeah, okay, who doesn't want that? I mean, it's just, I love it. So welcome to the conversation, and I would love to hear about Radiant Firefly. Where did that come from?
Yeah. So when I was choosing a name, I was pretty intentional about it, and I have been very particular about words. I look up the meaning of words a lot these days because I want to make sure I'm using them the right way and with the right intention. And I think that in the space that I was in at the time, I really liked the word radiant because I really want people to radiate and glow and live their best lives. And Firefly, honestly, I do pull oracle cards and I'm very much into nature, and something that was inspired by nature was really important to me. And I live in the Portland, Oregon, Pacific Northwest right now, but I did grow up in Pennsylvania, and one of the things I always say that I miss most are fireflies. And I think I was reading about a card that was a firefly in one of my oracle cards. And it's something about catching your dreams, your thoughts, your goals before they're fleeting, like the light of a firefly. So that's kind
Yeah,
of where the name came up.
I freaking love that. My daughter lived in Pennsylvania for a while, and you do see stuff out there on the East Coast in that area that you will never see on the West Coast, and I'm
Mhm.
sure vice versa. Um, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, I'm like, what a really fun name. I know with my business, Better Possibilities, I just wanted hope, and
Yeah.
for me, it's about what does hope look like, and that, it can always get better. And if you feel stuck, it's just a moment in time. So yeah, I love that. So you have a quote that I freaking love, if you can share it with us, and then we'll unpack it a bit.
Yeah. It's a Brene Brown quote, and it is, "We can choose courage or we can choose comfort, but we can't choose both."
Um, People who know Brene Brown or have followed her and stuff, she has a lot of things that are very well thought out. I think part of it's her research background and then her lived life experience. I was listening to her the other day on Diary of a CEO. And I'm curious of all the things that Brene Brown has said, quotable moments, if you will. What about that one that resonates with you?
Yeah, there's a couple quotes that I've loved in the past, but I feel like for what I stand for in my business and my coaching, I just feel like it's the perfect quote because if we stay in our comfort, we're never going to change. We're never going to make forward progress and momentum. And having the courage, the bravery to make even the smallest, minute steps forward can make a world of difference. And so the more we can lean into that courage and get out of the same old that may or may not be serving us, or if you really want something to change, that courage is going to what's going to propel us into the forward momentum to create whatever it is we want, a better life, a better work environment, a better, yeah, all the situations you could think of.
Yeah, it's interesting because courage feels like, and this is where we're wired in our brain, is that we're going up against life and death.
Hmm.
And that's where, when we do step out of the comfort zone, when I think about our subconscious, the primary role is to keep us safe, right? And the other
Hmm.
use the least amount of energy, which, is why habits are super easy. It's like you're an autopilot. People get up in the morning and they're like, oh, here we go again. And then your brain is like, okay, let's get the tape from yesterday and, last month and last week. Let's put that puppy in and we don't have to think.
Mm-hmm.
I think about my life and moments that I'm going to label as courageous. I mean, literally, uh, I've got a sign in my office that says, um, step outside, no box required.
Mm-hmm.
It is that mentality of I'm literally charting a path that I've never gone down before, which is the polar opposite of put yesterday's tape back in and play it again. What about for you? What comes to mind for you with something like that when I think about just the courage and what it took and how you got yourself there? Because there's a lot of mental games that we can play with ourselves and people label it as procrastination and all this stuff, but it's like it's scary to do crap that you've never done before.
It sure is. I think that some of it's societal, the way that we grew up and what we thought was expected of us, what our teachers or our parents or our partners or whatever, it could be anything. You need to, I don't know, go to college, get a degree, get a house, get, whatever box that you're in. And but nobody kind of told us how to be successful within those boxes or strategies to succeed and stuff like that. And why don't we define what success looks like for ourselves and go after it and be okay with that and have the courage to do that? And it is scary because you might be going against the grain if you're doing something differently. And it could be the
Mhm.
smallest thing on the planet or the biggest thing. But I really love, I never heard that putting the same cassette tape in and I'm starting over again the day and the autopilot. There's actually the book is right next to me. Dr. Thema Bryant, she wrote the book Homecoming
No, I
and
haven't
she
heard
wrote
that.
about it's about kind of healing from trauma and coming back home to yourself and she's wonderful. If you can listen to her voice and her joy and her hope for moving forward is fantastic. But she wrote about being on autopilot in our jobs and our lives every day, and that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been in autopilot. And it's the pause, it's the reflection, and to get from like all the overthinking about what can be better. And I work with so many clients, and they could be working on a new resume or a new job or a promotion or to be heard a little bit more in the office. But it's like all this overthinking and being so deeply embedded in your thoughts and working with a coach or talking it out loud to something can give it legs and give it that little bit of courage. And I see it so much when people are able to do that. So that's kind of where my journey has come from, like healing my own autopilot, which believe me, I still am. And oftentimes I say I have to follow my own advice because it's so hard to do it for ourselves sometimes. But yeah, that's where I'm at with all that.
Yeah, it's funny. Before we hit record, I was asking you how are things going, what's going on. You're like, the coaching business is picking up. I'm, working on a funnel, all that stuff. And I immediately go to my own, and it goes to this lack place with my own brain, because that's my biggest area right now of opportunity is how do I market me? How do I, the podcast is easy.
Yeah.
The referrals that I get those are easy, right?
Yep.
I'm a coach on Coach Hub, or I'm sitting underneath someone else's contract that they have because they won whatever. But when you step out to go, okay, it's me and you don't know me, I'm going to create an experience that you're now going to get to know me. That's the thing that's freaking scary for me. And I don't know why. I don't know why there's this literally like I'm in quicksand or slogging through mud to try and do it. And I don't know. And it's so funny because I tend to overthink stuff as we do. The ego and the brain will take over. It's like, is it because that's just not me? I don't do that kind of stuff. Or is there something else going, this is the thing because this is the thing that's so hard for you to do that you need to break through?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a big question, but yeah, the lack and it's been a slog to get to some of this stuff for sure. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner? And I'm still kind of like baby steps going forward. But I'm trying to find a way to be a little bit more sustainable because the referrals aren't always going to be there or they're hard to get. And I'm trying to make things a little bit more. uh, plug and play, sustainable,
Consistent
nurturing,
is
and
the word
yeah,
that's coming to mind for me.
a
Yeah.
system, consistent. Yeah, consistent.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because I think that's the thing that, like, I don't know who can relate to this being self-employed, right? You may have your side hustle and you've got your W-2 job that you're doing. So how do you pull the plug on the W-2 job and go to the side hustle if that's the thing that you really want to do? If that's your ultimate goal. And for me, it was like, it's scary.
It is.
So, and depending on where you're at in life and what's going on, it's like that consistent paycheck to where, you work 40 hours a week and you get paid this amount of money. You work 60 hours in a week and you still get paid the same amount of money. There's consistency in that. And I'm going to tie that consistency back to comfort zone.
Yes, it's true.
And it takes courage, frickin', to step out of that, especially when we don't have all the answers. We might not even have a fraction of the answers. We just know that this thing is what we love doing and it fills our cup up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, so much there. Well, for me, part of me being down this path is I got laid off a few years ago. There were things I did to step aside, and I took a contract job as a technical project manager for a little while that was allowed me to, honestly, one of the things I did was try to make sure that I wasn't defining my worth solely by the work that I was doing professionally
Yeah.
and breaking myself apart of that. And so that's kind of been part of the healing journey and like the journey for me building my life and my business the way that I am where I'm at right now. And then, yeah, the comfort of the consistent paycheck. But I'd go as far to say that, if I could wave my magic wand for everybody right now, that, being complacent and just getting the W-2 form without being able to answer, why am I valuable? Why am I making such a big impact? Why am I so awesome at what I do? And being able to answer that because there's just so much turmoil and we don't stay at the same job for decades like the generations before us do. And so, like, getting people like future proofing their jobs moving forward and being able to even dream about what's possible beyond where they're at right now or kind of be ready for it. Not like it has to consume you, but just being kind of aware, the pause, the reflection, and being
Hmm.
knowing that. I've worked with too many people who've been laid off from their jobs. Like some of them have been at their work for 10, 15, 20 years,
Hmm.
had no idea what they offered outside of that ecosystem or why they were valuable. And I think that that's important for people to know about themselves because I think every single person is a leader and valuable. They just need to be able to find the story to tell it.
Yeah. You're talking about that, and what comes to mind for me is something a colleague had told me at one point because um, I had the luxury, if you will, or the blessing or the privilege. I worked at Sutter Health for about 17 and a half years and went from finance analyst to regional accounting manager in finance to a finance director at one of the hospitals and kept looking over at the group that was doing process improvement and work that was really making a difference in people's lives and all that stuff. And
Hmm.
I'm like, man, I really want to do that, right? But I
Yeah.
wasn't in that role. I'd gone
Hmm.
through a week's training because it was required. And I think it's one of those things when you see something else that's calling you, right? Where you may say something like, God, it'd be really kind of cool to do X, right?
Hmm.
That's the stuff that you're literally putting out in the universe of I really want that. And when I look back at my career, right, where I wasn't intentional to where I went, I'm going to do this to do this to ultimately, and there's people out there that know, and I coach them. They know exactly where they're going.
Hmm.
I never knew exactly where I was going. I just I would go, that sounds kind of cool.
Hmm.
That would be interesting. And then at some point, a door opened. And I would be, and they go, what about da da da? And I'm like, well, I'm not qualified for da da da, but I had skills
Yep.
and abilities that I had gotten up to that point. It wasn't specific to that next role. But I think what happened and gave me hope or the courage to step in is I had a colleague at one point because I was in a role that I wasn't sure if it was going to last. And it was probably the scariest thing because the other things I'd landed, and I'm going to call it a soft landing, right? The
Hmm.
door opened, I jumped in, and it was a soft landing. This was something that it wasn't clear that it was going to be longer term. That was like the scarier part for me in the moment. And she said, Michelle, here's the thing. And this is where people that get laid off or the jobs don't play out how they thought. Every skill that you've learned, that you've acquired and filled your bag up along the way is going with you. And that's the thing. I think as part of the thing when you're talking about the questions that you're asking is people start to realize I've collected a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And I don't mean hoarding kind of thing. It's
Hmm.
like the ability to engage with team members and have conversations at a higher level and be able to sort through complex and make it simple. Those are skills that apply everywhere.
Yep. I love that. Yeah, I think that yeah, it's so stunning because I think that so many people are carrying around this suitcase, as you call it. Your analogies are beautiful. The suitcase of amazing achievements and accomplishments, and it's about telling your story in a way that connects with where you want to go. And I love that. I think every single person has it under the sun. It's just about finding it. And it's funny, I actually talked to one of my clients about this yesterday. I was like, I talked to people and I could see it in their head. Like you can see that they know there's a knowing up there, but they don't know
Mhm.
how to verbalize it and tell the story or put it on a resume or a piece of paper. And like that's the magic is like getting them to own their potential and their impact and that they are worthy of where they want to go.
So, what role have you played in that? Because when you just said that, I stepped into my role as coach when that happens, and people literally can't verbalize it. They only have the one way that they've heard it that's going around in their brains. How do you help people work through that?
I start to ask them questions. Tell me, and honestly, I'll tell them like, pretend you're talking, if depending on the level of comfort, if they feel like I could be a friend of theirs, or like pretend you're talking to your wife or your husband, your partner, whoever it is, or somebody that's really comfortable. Let's just have a conversation about what you do. It doesn't have to sound resume polished. Let's just have a conversation. And I pick out their tidbits and then I reflect it back to them. They're like, whoa, yeah, that's it. And like
Yes.
seeing that is just one of the coolest things that I'm so grateful and honored that I get to like mirror back to them. They're awesome. They're like, I can't, yes, that's it.
Can I write that down? We need to capture that.
Yes, and
Yes.
often I do.
Well, and that's the coolest thing because it's as simple as, like you just said, they're talking about all this stuff. And then as a coach, I can step in and go, so here's what I heard.
Yes.
And it's like boom, boom, boom. They're like, yes. So it is because what happens is we get in our own way. We have like the neural pathways are built and the story's already there and all this stuff. It's like, you get in your car to drive home and from work and you arrive home and you're like, I remember nothing of the drive.
Yeah.
Literally the turns, all the stuff, but we're doing the same thing with our lives.
Hmm.
Step in and have a plan. And even if the plan is, here's the thing I'm going to do more thinking on. It doesn't mean that you have to go, here's what I'm doing a month from now, and 3 months from now, and 6 months from now, and a year from now, and 3 years from now, and 5 years from now. That's daunting. Okay.
Absolutely.
But it's like, what's the next thing? It's like when you get in a car, I joke around with people. It's like if you don't have a some direction that you're going in, it's like loading the whole family up in the van in the driveway and going, okay, guys, we're here. Where are we going? So if you're going to load yourself up and load the people up in the van, figure out what the next thing is. We're going to go to the ice cream store.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
going to get some ice cream.
And then
Some
figure out the next steps.
so what is it for you when I look back and I think about people listening that may be on their own journey, on their own path? There's a lot of people who have side hustles, right?
Hmm.
Because the thing is, our job title today is not the only thing about us.
Mm-mm.
And that's the whole thing is you could have someone who is an accountant, right? In
Yeah.
fact, I met somebody in the pop-up think tank. What a character, and you'll remember his name It was, and by the way, it was Halloween, or at least the day before Halloween when the pop-up think tank was happening. And I get thrown into a breakout room, not thrown into, but morphed into, transported into a breakout room with someone who knew you. And in the background, he's got these what look like Harry Potter, like kind of, they were Lego things that were built. And he had on this fur thing and this medallion thing and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is an interesting dude. Now, mind you, I'm not connecting to the fact that it's Halloween and he's dressing up for work. I'm just like, okay, then you be you, right? And
Yeah.
I said, so what do you do? What's going on? He introduced himself and he's like, I'm in compliance. Okay, I'm sorry, you could have pushed me over with a feather. I'm like, this guy sitting in front. I thought creative writing, I do marketing, I do it, not compliance.
He actually is a very high up in it's James, and he has a very prominent position with the government and the state of Utah.
There you go. So
Yeah.
here's the thing.
Hmm.
That character that was in there and the rest of his personality is so much more than the job he holds
Yeah.
and the thing he does. And I think that's the stuff to take a look at. What charges you up? And it could be the compliance thing and the rest of the Legos and the whole bit, because he's got a collection.
He loves
And that
Legos.
he brought with him because this is part of his identity and what gives him joy, right?
Hmm.
And
Yes.
and I think that's the thing to tap into for us. So for you, it's like when you look at, you had a significant life-changing event. And I think about, how do you sign up for health insurance outside of open enrollment? There was a life-changing event that took place.
Yeah.
So your life-changing event, how did you get on this path beyond I was an interim, project manager for a while and did whatever? You do coaching and leadership development. Was it a side hustle all the time?
No, I actually I've been kind of in the career space for I'd say 12, 13 years now, but I
Yeah.
really started to embrace coaching when I actually worked at a code school. So I started working for a company that taught people how to become software engineers in a
Okay.
very difficult program that was 6 months long, non-traditional education. And I worked with people from that never had a degree and never went to school a day in their life, not even kindergarten, to PhDs and
Oh,
everybody
wow.
in between to help them secure their first engineering role. And I also made a lot of connections with hiring managers to help them on their ways, which was
Yeah.
I was pretty successful at. And so I actually created class curriculum. I taught them, I stayed with them, I helped them with their resumes. I evolved the program a lot over time. And I got really technically savvy working with a lot of software engineers
Yeah.
over time and be able to level with engineering managers about the skills of the people. And I got really good about connecting the right people to the right places, knowing
Yeah.
some people are going to thrive in startups and some people really need a little bit more structure. And it's about learning people's
Yeah.
curiosities and joys and interests and front end versus back end and creativity. Like, even though everybody was taking the same program, everybody had different values or needs or wants, and helping people recognize that along the way.
Yeah.
And so it's funny you say this. So I left that job and I went to go work with James. He was my boss after I left that role. And that's where I actually got laid off from. And I kind of was on a path whether I wanted to stay like super technical or I wanted to coach. And I decided to go ahead and get my ICF credentials. And I actually still work a little bit for the project management company. But yeah, here I am. And I mean, I enjoy it. Yesterday alone I got on with one of my clients. She found out yesterday she got laid off. Another one of my clients I haven't seen him in only 3 weeks, and he did some of the most scary, brave, courageous things. And he decided to change teams. He was terrified to tell his boss and leave his team. And we had such a great conversation about like what he learned from it and what he'd done. I think he's 25 years old, and it was
Yeah.
such great learning opportunity. And I hope that he's taking tools for the rest of the longevity of his career that he can use. Yeah, so it's wild. And so, yeah, it's just beautiful to be able to witness all these changes and courageous steps that people take. And I think
Yeah.
that's what coaching helps is like, and it doesn't have to be big. It could be the smallest things, but you
Mm-hmm.
see the hope and the confidence and oh, there can be something different, if
Mm-hmm.
we make one little brave, courageous step forward.
Um, and I it's important to highlight because what I just heard you say, it's like I was only with him for 3 weeks. Um, a lot of times if we're left to our own thoughts,
Yes.
we can't see a way forward or out, if you will, if you feel
Mhm.
stuck. Um, and it's typically, from my experience, the simplest things that literally unlock it. And I watch, and I'm sure you've experienced too, in front of me is like all of a sudden there's hope where there was this chains of just drugged down and stuck and no passion or excitement or yeah, no hope. That at the end of a session, there's hope, there's clarity, there's direction, there's all the stuff. And I just encourage people, it doesn't take a 6 month yuck through whatever. I mean, literally, it can be one time
Yes.
that it unlocks you, and don't be afraid that you're going to go back. You won't go back unless for some reason you want to.
Yeah.
But I encourage people that if you're not feeling amazing and you don't wake up in the morning excited for your day. And I don't mean that you have to be skipping around the house and going, oh my God, what a beautiful day, like the sound of music and, the hills are alive and all that stuff. That's not, you don't have to be that.
Yeah.
But look forward to what the day is going to bring.
Yes.
And if that's not the experience that you have, then ask yourself some different questions. What do I really
Hmm.
want? What can be different? What is possible? Things that open your brain up instead of, here we go again. What are
Put
you
in that
excited
cassette
about?
tape
What do
and
you,
press
yeah.
play.
Yes. So anyway, that's my passionate plea to people and humans because the goal is to have people have a better experience in life, right?
Yes.
In
We
life.
only have one, and it's,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So what about your thoughts? What do you want to add to that? What do you want to disagree with? What do you want to agree with?
Oh, no, I agree with everything you say, my friend. I kind of go what I that there's one thing you said early in the conversation is I was in this job and I kept looking over there and I'm like, that sounds really cool. And I'm really interested in that, but I don't have the skills. I'm like, well, you probably did, but you just that just needs to be unpacked. But like getting like recognizing that, going back to the word fleeting, right? Capture that, oh, that sounds really interesting. I want to learn more about that. How can I, in like, experiences, being able to talk to somebody who does that, maybe meet with a coach. Um,
Yeah.
and I kind of, well, one of my instructors during my ICF training, she kept saying the world needs more coaches. And I actually confronted her about it during one of my one-on-one mentor sessions. Like, why do you keep saying this? And the more and more that I coach, I think everybody needs a coach because it really does unlock that overwhelm and that thought and helps you, find that question, that you
Yeah.
said before, like, that looks really cool over there. So how can we make the smallest path, the most courageous steps, get a little bit out of our comfort zone and check it out and see what it's like, see if we want to go over there.
Yeah. It's like throw your hat in the ring if the ring interests you.
Yeah.
Right. And to your point, part of it is, and I heard something the other day that talked about, and forgive me if these numbers are not right, because they're probably not going to be right, is that there's a difference between men and women on how they view like the job postings and the skills and all that stuff. And I'm going to make this part up, the numbers. But if guys look at a job posting and they've got 40% of the skills, they're like, that's mine. I'm in it, right? I'm there. Women look at it and they don't have 95 to 100% of the skills. They're like, I can't. I don't know how to do that.
Hmm.
And
I talk
it's
about that to people all the time. I have for years. And I honestly I have to say I always thought that I would end up attracting a mostly female clientele base, but I actually end up working with a lot of men.
hmm
Maybe it's because I work a lot with technical people, but um, I have to say a lot of men see that. I see that in a lot of men too. I worked with a gentleman last year that had been a VP level, Microsoft, another big tech company. He's like, Shan, I have imposter syndrome. I'm like, can you go tell all of my younger software engineer people that? Because I think that it is really pervasive for a lot of people, but I think that there's a certain type of person that will be like 40%, I'll be able to talk my way through that, and no problem. I have a lot of feelings about that. But how can you get curious about, what you do bring to the table and you're more qualified than you think? I'm 100% confident of that.
Yeah, Michael Stinnett, who's someone else I know, he's the Unstuck coach. He was a school teacher and then a pastor. And he helps teachers transitioning from careers because they get in this lane of teacher and think that's all I have. And he goes, so let's translate what you do and the skills that you have. I had one client that did great. I mean, a degree, she got a scholarship for the degree in Japan University from her home country. She lived in Japan and then got a master's program and got in that, qualified for that and got that, and then moved to the US. So now you've got someone who started in a different country, lived in Japan for all those years, and then came to the US. And her response to me, again, imposter syndrome, she goes, but her thing was, my degree was a waste of money. I'm not even doing that.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, so let's unpack that for a minute. What did you learn? And I'm not talking about the topic. What skills did you pick up along the way as you went through the program? Do you have teamwork? Do you know how to research? Do you know how to summarize stuff? Do you know how to hit deadlines? And I mean, all the stuff. And she kind of looked at me. I'm like, it's not the topic. It's the skills that you learn as you go through.
Yes.
And it's important to recognize that because if it's just about the technical knowledge or the brain dump, the academic piece, you won't be able to work with anyone.
Hmm.
But it's all the other stuff that you get along the way if you're applying yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. It's like people that come out, they go, well, that's a waste of time. Nothing's a waste of time
No.
unless you deem it that way because you're not looking at what is the gift and the opportunity and what I just went through.
Yes. I completely agree. One of my clients right now, he has a bachelor's or some sort of training, but he's looking at ageism and he's on the older side, and because it's not from a fancy college or something like that, he's like, I can't put this on my resume. And I'm like, yeah, you can. And and we were joking because in one of the communities that I'm part of, somebody was sharing a comment or a resume that somebody was that people are putting like, I went to this university, but I really wanted to go to Carnegie Mellon in really big letters so the Carnegie Mellon gets picked up. Or somebody was putting, and this actually happened to one of the people in the community, that his company started to interview people that looked like he had a doctorate from Harvard, but it was actually his wife. But you get like the parallel, like I'm married to somebody who has a
Yeah,
doctorate, and you
yeah.
put that on the resume.
Through osmosis, yeah, then I've
And
gotten this.
people,
I have this level of education too because I married the person.
yeah, exactly. And but people scan things so quickly, so he would get interviews from it in whatever the case may be. And it was just the funniest thing. But I'm like, people are putting this on here. You absolutely, you earned that degree regardless of when it was. And
Hmm.
like if you did go to Carnegie Mellon back then, you sure as heck would put that on there then. Why wouldn't you put that on there
Well,
now?
and you don't need to put the year that you
No, not at
attended.
all.
Please don't label yourself that way. Don't worry
No.
about it. And
Yeah.
GPAs, I mean, you can put them on there, but I don't know. Too many people go, "Oh, you only had a 3.98." So
Yeah,
I'm not,
exactly. It doesn't
we're
matter.
not even going to talk to you. I don't know why you even applied.
I
I
know.
mean, it's not going to happen. Did you successfully get a degree? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so many conversations about one of the clients I worked with recently, she was like, I have a PhD, I'm earning my PhD. I need to learn more stuff. I'm like, what do you need to learn? She couldn't like the same thing with your client. It was hard for her to see all the wonderful skills she brought to the table. One of my software engineer woman, she was like, I have this master's degree that's not in tech. I'm not going to put it on my resume. I'm like, yes, you are.
Oh my God. It's the whole thing that you set a goal, you committed to something, you finished the something. That
Yes.
speaks volumes to people. Or do you actually complete things or do you start a bunch of crap? Right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you get it over the line, let people know you got it over the line.
Hmm.
You know, whatever it is.
100%.
That's huge. And the imposter syndrome is at all levels. And what I tell people is we ready ourselves for the next open door. And by
Hmm.
readying ourselves, I don't mean you know every freaking thing for the next open door. Because if that's the case, you would be bored inside of a couple months and you'd go to the next open door. So know that the next open door when you step through is uncomfortable. You
Yeah.
should feel uncomfortable. You should look around and go, oh my God, I've got so much I need to learn. Yes, you do. And that's a good thing.
Oh, and that's so interesting. I had never thought about this before, but um, people often want to leave roles because they're bored and complacent.
Hmm.
But then on the flip side, you're like, oh, I have imposter syndrome. I can't do that. So,
Yes.
like, looking at imposter syndrome as I'm here right now, I am going to learn. I have data points that I've learned and succeeded in the past, and I've been able to prove myself. And how can you let like that curiosity and I'm excited about the challenges drive you instead
Hmm.
of let that story about imposter syndrome take you over?
Yeah. It's just part of the journey. And
Yep.
it's basically everything's hard until it's not.
Yes.
So just know that. I mean, you'll look at things and go, oh my God, I have so much to do. I'm overwhelmed. It's all new. Da, 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 da. I'm so bored, this stuff. And it's like, okay, so what did you stop doing? Nothing. I'm doing the same. Okay, so hello.
Exactly.
Everything's hard until it's not,
Yes,
right? And this too shall pass. So yeah.
absolutely.
I've enjoyed our chat tremendously. I welcome back anytime that you want to hop in and talk. I want to hear what's going on. So what, as we wrap up, what are one or two things that you want people to walk away with?
Oh gosh, that you're very, very capable and you have amazing skills. You're a leader in your own way, even if you don't have the manager title, and you absolutely can do what you want to. It's just about getting your story out there to the world and letting people know that you exist and you want it and getting curious about what that is.
Yeah.
The other thing I think would be I think that just like really leaning into the curiosities that come up for you or really pausing for a second and saying, getting out of the autopilot, how can you disrupt the mixtape that you said? Oh,
Hmm.
I love that analogy so much. And just say like, what would make my days feel a little bit better? What do I want to experience? What would a good challenge be for me? What even small changes can I make in my life? If we don't stop and pause and ask ourselves any questions about that, we're going to continue in autopilot until potentially one day we wake up like I kind of did and was like, oh, I've just fell into all these things and I've been on autopilot this whole time. You could define your own success and you could control the dialogue a little bit more. And it doesn't have to be some big, arduous thing. It could be the smallest little things that you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, I love that. Couple things that came to mind when you were talking is, and you say it so naturally, and I think it's important to call out, is that you identified, call out what you want. And for most humans, I hear them saying, oh, what I don't want. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want this. I don't want that. Draw in what you want. Be really clear about what you want. And I think it's really hard a lot of times because we don't think it's possible.
Hmm.
If you say you want it or you say it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you say it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen.
Hmm.
So what's the worst that can happen by calling out intentionally what you want?
Somebody might say no to you, or
Yeah.
somebody might be like, I mean, even a small, like one of my clients wanted to ask for a promotion, but he needed to find the words that he didn't want to go in there and say, I want a promotion. And his manager said, I never knew you wanted that.
Yeah.
Right? And so,
Yeah.
like, if nobody knows what you want, nobody can possibly help you or get you to the next level. And oh my gosh, one thing that we didn't talk about at all, it's like doing it alone. How can you bring in community and other people into the situation? Because doom scrolling on the internet and overthinking,
Hmm.
talk to people. It's the most
Yeah.
important thing under the sun. Like
Yeah.
that's going to be your ticket to forward momentum.
Yeah. And with the whole idea, if you're ready for a promotion, and words matter, like you commented, is you just go in and say, hey, I'm ready for more. You
Yes.
don't have to define what more is, but
Yeah.
realize the person that you report to is sitting at tables you don't sit at. They're in conversations that you're not aware of. And opportunities are going to present themselves. And when you let them know and plant that seed, I'm ready for more, they're going, oh my God, Shannon said that she was ready for more. This would be a really cool thing for Shannon. But if you don't let them know, to your point, they're not scanning.
Nope.
And this is happening in the background. So throw your hat in the ring. Let people know you're ready for more. If you're not going to go and say, I want a promotion or a different title, I'm ready for more.
Yeah.
And then unpack with who you report to what more is. The
And
other thing I'll leave us with is Sonia Choquette, because when you're talking about asking yourself, in the morning or whatever, what's different, what's possible, so we don't put the same tape in again that we did yesterday and the day before, is what magic am I going to create today? It
I
it
love that.
just makes people smile and laugh and go, what? That's just, but ask yourself that.
Yeah.
What magic am I going to create today? And feel how it feels in your body.
So much of that. Yes.
Yes.
How does it feel in your body?
Yes. So I freaking enjoy this time. You're just an awesome, delightful human.
Oh,
Um,
I enjoyed it so much as well. Thank you so much for having me.
yeah,
I
I
think that
look
you're
I look
delightful.
forward to next time. This has been Leadership Soundbites with Michelle and Shannon. Please like, share, subscribe, share your stories, and until next time, have an awesome, awesome day. Thank you.
Thank you.